It was the year 2011, and Korg launched a game-changing workstation, and they called it Kronos. It embodied the very definition of a keyboard workstation, as it was designed to be an all-in-one solution for keyboardists of all types. Whether you were a producer who worked in the studio, a sound designer, a live musician, or all of the above, the Korg Kronos was up to the task. Launching with 9 independent sound engines, a 32-track sequencer on board, a fully featured sampler with multi-sampling capability, the ability to layer, split, and play 16 sounds simultaneously, a solid-state hard drive with streaming, and so much more, the Korg Kronos was certainly the king of the ring in terms of power. However, since that time, there have been some modest updates, but the Kronos has remained largely unchanged. So today, is the Kronos still relevant, let alone king? Or is it a relic of yesteryear? A dinosaur? Obsolete, only fit for a museum or a collector's item for those who like to frequent memory lane? We live in a tech climate that regularly characterizes merchandise a year or two old as, well, old. The Kronos is almost 10 years old, but let's take a look at what it has to offer. Hello and welcome to another My Gear video in my My Gear series of videos. And today we're going to be talking about the Korg Kronos, and I'm so excited about this video because literally this is the workhorse of my studio, but more so it is the workhorse of my live playing. So I normally use a lot of the Kronos when I'm playing live for a plethora of reasons that we'll go over. If you're getting any kind of value out of videos like this, or you like this video, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can see when I upload new videos. I'm always uploading new stuff. Let's get into it. The Korg Kronos. The Korg Kronos today is not obsolete. It is not so old that it's obsolete. It is long in the tooth. It's going on 10 years. I understand that. But I still believe that when you start comparing this with other keyboards, the Korg Kronos, as far as a workstation is concerned, is still probably the most powerful workstation on the market today. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean it sounds the best. So because sounds are something that are a matter of preference. It's people's opinion. One sound that somebody really loves, somebody else really hates it. But when I'm talking about power, I'm talking about the actual features and things that it can handle and things that it can do. And this workstation really is an all-in-one solution for keyboardists. And I just want to go over some things that make this keyboard so powerful. And the first thing I want to talk about today, and I do want to say that this is going to be more of a talking video, not so much a playing video. If you're looking to just hear the Korg, if you're looking just to hear it, you probably want to check out another video, like on somebody else's channel that's just playing the Korg Kronos. There's thousands of videos of people just playing the board. This is going to be very much more so informational. So let's get into it. The Korg Kronos, the first feature I want to talk about is the fact that it has 9 independent sound engines. And I know we hear that all the time, and it's not just kind of like a marketing pitch. That really means a lot when we say it has 9 independent sound engines. And what is a sound engine? Well, the sound engine is going to give you the ability to tweak and do sound designing and whatnot, using engines that are specifically tailored toward the instrument that you are trying to edit or design or tweak. So sound engines are very, very powerful. Now, just to give you some sort of frame of reference, the Korg Kronos has 9 independent sound engines. I also own a Roland RD2000. The RD2000 has 2 independent sound engines. It has a V piano sound engine, which has that modeled piano. Has that modeled piano in the VP sound engine, and it's unlimited polyphony and so on and so forth. And then it has their supernatural sound engine, which is 128 voice polyphony, and you can use these 2 sound engines together, and neither one of them steal from each other's polyphony. But bottom line is 2 sound engines. I also have a Modi X, the Yamaha Modi X, or the Yamaha Montage. They have two sound engines. So that's a synthesizer that has two sound engines. It has the FMX sound engine, which is FM, and it also has the AWM2 sound engine, which carries all the rest of their sounds, all of your brass and your strings and your pianos and your basses and your organs and your everything, drums, all that stuff is all in the AWM2 sound engine. So there's two sound engines in the Montage. There's two sound engines in the RD2000. There are two sound engines, or excuse me, there are three sound engines in the Nord Stage 3. It has a piano sound engine, an organ sound engine, and a synth sound engine. But those sound engines are nowhere near as complex, and you cannot go as deep as far as sound design as you can in the Kronos. But that's three sound engines. I can't remember how many sound engines the Phantom has. I think it has the Zencore sound engine and the V Piano sound engine, and then has some sort of virtual analog. I don't know if that's a separate sound engine or not, but two or three sound engines in the brand new Roland Phantom. The Korg has 9 independent sound engines. So it kind of blows all of these other keyboards out of the water when it comes to sound engines. And let's go ahead and look at the sound engine here. And so this is the SGX2 sound engine. Which is specifically catered towards editing piano. So I can go into the sound engine here, and we have some specific parameters that are specifically designed for piano. So one thing here is you can adjust the lid. I can take the lid down. And immediately have a different sound just by taking the lid down or raising it up. Opens it up. So that's just a part of the sound engine. Now, you know, traditionally when it came to pianos and stuff like that, if you wanted to make edits and tweaks and so on and so forth, you would adjust like ADSR, you know, the attack, decay, sustain, and release, or you could you know, do some EQing. You add some reverb, maybe a little bit of a delay in order to get the kind of piano sound that you wanted to. But now you have more. With the Korg Kronos, you have things that are more dedicated towards the actual piano. So you can take the lid up and down. You can adjust, you know, hammer noise or the damper resonance, the damper noise, the mechanical noise. So if I turn the mechanical noise all the way up, let's see here, and I hit a key, you can hear when I release the key, the sound of the piano making that extra noise. You can even adjust the stereo perspective. And what that is right now, it is set to player. So you're hearing the piano. You're hearing the piano from the perspective of being a player. But you can also change that to audience. And now you hear it from the audience's perspective, because the audience is going to be sitting on a different side of the piano than somebody who's actually playing the piano. So you can change it from player to audience and vice versa. And then you also have something here that's called like velocity bias. And I really like the velocity bias. And what that does is it compresses some of the tones that you get with the velocity, and it enhances other ones at the same time. So let me explain it this way. So when you hit a piano soft or you hit it harder, it's not just getting louder. It's not just the volume that's changing of the piano, but the certain timbres and stuff are changing. When you play a piano softer, it has a more dark, warm kind of a tone, and when you hit it harder, when you hit it harder, because it's a percussion instrument, you hit it harder, and it really kind of gets brighter and has these different tones. Well, you can adjust the velocity bias. If I take it all the way down, now it's going to bring out kind of the softer tones of the piano without changing the volume. So what it's doing, it's compressing the brighter loud tones, or compressing what you would hear if you were playing at fortissimo or forte, and it's enhancing the tones that come out when you're playing, piano or pianissimo. Now, if I take it all the way up, by contrast, now you get a completely different sound. The keyboard is brighter. But this is not done by simply changing an EQ. This is done by enhancing the certain velocity levels and compressing the other one. But not only do you have that, but you also have these various samples that are included. So we have like the German dark one. So this is a German grand, and it's dark, and you can adjust all this, the same parameters. You can come over here and let's say we can do a Berlin bright. So we got a variety of different samples, and not only that, but it has samples in here that have stretch tuning, and some of the samples don't have stretch tuning. And so stretch tuning is a technique that they use when they're tuning pianos. When you get to the higher register of the piano, when you get to the higher register sounds, the higher notes, they actually, to our ear, when the piano is tuned perfectly, to our ear, the higher notes will sound flat. So they're a little bit flat. Stretch tuning stretches the strings and whatnot, so that you actually get, it's actually tuned a bit higher. So it's what that does is, to our ears, the piano doesn't sound flat, even though on a tuner it's going to say that it's playing the note a bit too sharp. So you can choose between samples that are stretch tuned and choose between samples that are not stretch tuned. You got your Japanese grands, which I'm pretty sure is probably a Yamaha. And of course, you can do all the editing and stuff that you want to do. You can adjust the velocity bias. You can adjust the release time. So like this. So it's just a whole bunch of different parameters and stuff that you can adjust. Not only that, but it has string resonance. So I can turn the string resonance on, and you get string resonance. So if I hold a note down and hit another note, you can hear the other strings inside of the piano cabinet, inside of the piano, kind of resonating off of the soundboard. So it gives it more of a realism when you're playing. Now, not only does it have the sympathetic string resonance, but you can dial in how much string resonance that you want. You can take it all the way up. And you can really hear those other strings ring out, or you can take it down so that it's, just pretty subtle. So you can take it down to something that's really subtle. Now, the Nord Stage 3 also has string resonance, but it's either on or off. You can't really adjust the level of string resonance that you have. My RD2000, it also has string resonance as well, but it's not quite as dynamic, where you have all the various strings and stuff resonating out depending on which notes and stuff that you're hitting and holding down and so on and so forth. It's not quite it's not quite that dynamic because it doesn't have the processors and stuff inside to do that. So I can come out here. Let's see, one more thing. Let's go to, I'm gonna come here and I'm going to pick a Berlin Grand. Let's just do this one. So this is a Berlin. In the Berlin Grand, they have una corda or soft pedal samples. So once again, it just adds to the realism by having una corda soft pedal. So a lot of times people come up to something like this, like a Korg Kronos or something, and they, will pick a preset and play it. And they'll decide basically whether or not they like the sounds of the piano in the Korg Kronos just by playing a preset. But there's so many things that you can do to edit this sound because it has its own dedicated sound engine. You really got to kind of play with things and tweak things and get in there and design things to get it to be to your liking. And not every single piano in here is going to suit every single scenario. So when I'm playing live, I actually turn all of this, the damper resonance and all this stuff, I turn it all off because I don't want to have extra noise in the mix. Now, if I'm going to use a piano out of the Korg Kronos in some sort of recording or something like that, and people are going to be actually listening to it with earbuds and stuff like that, that's when I'll turn on more of those things. Maybe if I'm going for a more intimate sound or something like that, I might come over here and bring down the lid. And let's see, let's pick, we'll do a German dark, bring the lid down, bring the velocity bias down, and we'll just turn this stuff on. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So you can make edits really, really quickly, save it, and then you have it. So powerful sound engine, but that's just one of the sound engines. If I come over here and go to an electric piano, now if I go into the program mode, you have a completely different interface because now I'm in the EP1 sound engine, which is specifically designed for electric pianos, like Rhodes, Whirly, stuff like that. Specifically Tynes like pianos and Reed-based electric pianos. And these are completely modeled. So I can come over here and I can adjust the treble. I can adjust the bass, take the bass level up and down. I can turn on my vibrato. I can adjust the intensity of the vibrato. I can adjust the speed of the vibrato. So I can do all of these various adjustments just as if I was like playing an electric piano. So that's what it has. It has a cabinet. Excuse me, it has an amp simulator here. I can turn it on or off. By default on this one it was on. I can turn up the drive. So I can turn up the drive, I can turn it on, turn it off. And then I also have these insert effects over here. So I can choose like a phaser. some of this drive. So I can choose a phaser. You know, we can go over here. We can choose a different one. Let's see. That's a different phaser. A vintage chorus. Black chorus. So you have these different insert effects, just like you would a real, like a real Rhodes, where you could plug in like a guitar pedal and have your, or effects pedal, and have your different different effects. And you're not just stuck with, you know, just the way it sounds. That's a compressor. But you can actually adjust your, you know, so here's my phase, but I can come down here and I can adjust. I can adjust the effect here. So I have different parameters and stuff that I can adjust on every single one of them. And that's the EP1 sound engine. I can go to another sound engine. This is the CX3 sound engine. If I go into the program mode and then click on the thing here, you get a totally different interface, because now this is designed for, you know, playing organs. And so I got my drawbars using my sliders. And I can adjust all of my, you know, all of my rotary effects. So here's my rotary. I can take the, right now it's making some noise. I can take the noise level down to 0, or take it up to 99, and you hear a lot of noise. So it gives you all of those different parameters. I can adjust the leakage level, so you can hear the leakage. I can adjust the click on, click off. So I hit the click, hit a note. Let's turn down some of this noise and leakage, so you can hear the click. So you can hear the contacts, like the contacts are a little dirty. That's what happens in an organ, in a real Hammond. The contacts become a little dirty, and you get that click sound. So you have a click on and you have a click off. So when you when you come off the note, you hear the click, and you can adjust it so when you hit the note, you have that click noise. Because no two organs, if you're playing an actual organ like a Hammond organ or something, no two organs are going to sound exactly the same, because they age and they wear and stuff differently, you know. But you have your vintage sound, and you have your bright sound. You can do the classic CX3, or you can do a custom one. But anyway, lots and lots of stuff here to do as far as the organ is concerned. It's its own separate sound engine. So I can come over here, I can split the keyboard. So now that I have two registers, you know, for my organ. You know, I can use. So that's the CX3 sound engine. So this is a completely different sound engine, and you have a completely different interface, rather than just having just the generic, the ADSR and some reverb and some, you know, stuff like that. You specifically can design your sounds using basically like a plugin that is specifically tailored towards what you're trying to do. That is very, very, very powerful. Let's go back to my set list here. Now, believe it or not, this is what's called the STR1 sound engine. It's actually a string sound engine that developed that sound. The STR1 is designed for like strings, like, you know, plucks and strums and getting fret noise and so on and so forth. But the sound engine is so diverse that you can actually set it up where you get sounds like that. And of course, once again, you have a completely different interface when you're trying to edit these things. And so we got, you know, all these different, you know, string main, dampening, dispersion, string pitch, pickups and feedback, you know, so it's all designed with strings, you know, in mind, doing strings and plucking and stuff like that. You have 9 of these sound engines. So this is very, very, very powerful, and you can get into deep sound design and just kind of develop the sounds and stuff that you want. Now, something else I want to talk about that's very practical about this here. Let's go back to my Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute old. I never thought through love we'd be making one as lovely as she. But isn't she lovely made? All right, so let's go here. Now we talked about this already. But let's go. So I'm on my EP1. I can choose different. I'll take a read. This. Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother. So, take a look at this here. Go in here. So, let's say I want a phaser effect. And I'm going to take up my drive a little bit here. Okay, so I took up the drive, took up the phaser. Not took up the phaser, but added the phaser. So I just want to show you something really quickly here. So I can come into, come into all of my effects. So these are my effects. Now the Korg Kronos, you can layer up to 16 sounds together, and have them play all simultaneously from the keyboard itself. But with those 16 sounds, you get 12 insert effects over those 16 sounds. Or whenever you're in program mode, if you're just using the regular program, like this one is a regular program, I have 16 insert effects that I can add to this sound. But right now, I actually have all of the insert effects. They're actually all off. None of them are on. And what you are hearing is the sound engine itself. So if I want to add a phaser, I can add phaser effects and adjust phaser effects or whatever, or chorus, if I want to do chorus. I can do it from here. I don't actually have to go into my insert effects and add chorus to my sound. What that does is it frees up my insert effects, and I can use them with other sounds or use them for other things. So that really shows the power of the Kronos. Now, in other keyboards, you'll have a an electric piano, and it'll be dry. And if you want to add, a phaser to it, you've got to go into your insert effects and add a phaser. If you want to add, some sort of amp simulation or overdrive, you have to go into the parameters, you have to go into your insert effects, and you add it. So I'll give you an example. So like the montage, if you're going to add, you get 2 insert effects per part. So you can have 16 parts simultaneously. You get 2 insert effects per part. If you want overdrive on one of your parts, you add the overdrive to that part, but you have to use an insert effect. If then you want tremolo, then you have to add tremolo using an insert effect. If you want vibrato, you're going to use an insert effect. Well, you only get 2. So you can only use, hey, maybe you want chorus and tremolo or something, but then you're not going to be able to do overdrive or the amp simulator the way you want to. You see? So you only get 2 insert effects per part. Of course, lots of different workarounds and so on and so forth. That keyboard is an absolute beast. But what I'm saying is with the Korg Kronos, I'm not using any insert effects to get that sound. It's all contained in the sound engine itself. And that comes in handy when you are layering sounds, because you are able to reserve or save your resources. You don't have to use all of your resources and use all of your insert effects just to beef up your electric piano sound. So you don't have to be using some of your insert effects for your electric piano sound, but you can use these for, if you got a saxophone or something playing along with it, or you have drums, or you have bass and different things and stuff like that. Then you have these insert effects available to be specifically tailored towards those instruments. And this you don't need to use a lot of the insert effects because it's already baked into the sound, so to speak. I remember one of my first keyboards, I can't remember how many insert effects it had, but it was like this, just a Yamaha PSR something or other. And I remember I would add a rotary effect, and then that rotary effect would be on my drums, it would be on my bass, it would be on my piano, it would be on, and it's like, oh man, I can't, if I add this effect, it's going to be on everything. And so you had to be, I think you only got 2 insert effects for the entire sequence. So you got 16 channels, but you only got 2 insert effects. So you had to use it wisely. If you wanted to add reverb, all of them had to have reverb, and they're all going to have the same reverb. If you wanted to have the rotary effects, then you had to use it wisely. So anyway, but with this, it's very, very powerful because you get 12 insert effects, but it's more than just 12 insert effects, because in combination with the sound engines, you actually have effects that you can use that are at your disposal, and they don't take away from your actual insert effects. So it makes your sound bigger, fatter, and so on and so forth. So that is another powerful thing. So let's go quickly here. I want to go to my so this is back to the SGX2 sound engine. Let's go to my program here. And whenever I'm using anything but the HD1 sound engine, but any of the other sound engines, where do I want to go? There we go. Is that where I want to go? No. Give me 1 second here. Where am I going? There we go. Boom. So if I'm not using the HD1 sound engine, any other sound engine in here, so the other 8, I can combine 2 of them together in one program. 2 sound engines together in one program. So right now this is a piano. But I can come over here and I can add another sound engine. So I will add the Mod 7 sound engine. So this is an FM sound engine with 6 operators, so on and so forth, but not going to go all into that. But now we essentially, you have 2 sound engines playing at one time in one program. All right, I can change it to Poly 6. It goes to the Poly 6 sound engine. And so this is my Poly 6 sound engine. Again, has its own interface, different parameters and stuff you can adjust. Put them together. So both of these sounds are together. You got a piano, acoustic piano, and the Poly 6 EX sound engine together. But it's all in one program. So why is that important? What's the big deal? Okay, let me show you something here. So we'll just go into a combination that I have. Now, in a combination, you can have 16 different programs in a combination. 16 different programs in one combination. The thing about having 16 different programs in one combination is this sound, even though it has a Poly 6 sound and a grand piano sound from the SGX2 sound engine, when you're in combination mode, if I was to put in combination, it would count as one channel. One channel, you would get both of those sounds together. So that is so powerful because of the layers and stuff that you can put together. Now, I want to explain something about the Yamaha Montage or the Modi X. Now, I explained this in another video, and I'll explain it here. If you are using, like, for instance, the CFX Grand in the Montage, that takes up 4 parts. Yes, you can play 16 parts. You can have 16 parts, layered, split, so on and so forth. When it comes to the Modi X, you can have 16 parts. But if you have that CFX Grand, that actually takes up 4 parts. You have to find another piano that only takes up a single part if you actually want to get a full 16 sounds or a full 16 parts. So if you use the CFX Grand as one of your parts, that's going to leave you with, 12 more parts that you can add. Now, with the Modi X, you can only play 8 parts from the actual keyboard. The rest would have to be triggered from an external source. So if I took the CFX Grand in the Montage or the Modi X, and then I wanted to layer other things with it, and I wanted to play them all from the keyboard itself, the CFX Grand is going to eat up 4 parts, and it's going to leave me with only 4 other sounds I can layer with it. There are some sounds in the Montage and in the Modi X that take up all 8 parts. So you have one sound takes up all 8 parts. And so you can't layer anything else with it and play it from the keyboard because that one sound takes up 8 parts. But with the Korg Kronos, you truly can have 16 different sounds. So this would only count as 1. It doesn't count as 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. So sometimes when you're looking at specs, you say, hey, with the Korg Kronos, you can have 16 parts simultaneously. The Montage can have 16 parts simultaneously. They're the same. No, they're not the same. They're not the same because you can play all 16 parts from the keyboard itself. With the Montage, you can play 8 parts from the keyboard itself. Also with the Montage, there are multi-part samples in the montage, and there are single-part samples. So you may have a particular piano that you want to layer with other things, and that piano takes up more parts. Or you can have an electric piano that maybe takes up 5 parts, which leaves you with only 3 other instruments that you can layer and split and stuff like that with it. So that's something to pay attention to. But when it comes to the Korg Kronos, you don't really have that issue. So let me go into my combination here. That's another thing that I really like about the Korg Kronos, is that I can put these 16 parts together and I can control the various volumes and stuff with sliders. So this is a combination that I often use when I'm playing in church, specifically. I'm normally not playing, when I play in church, I normally always use layers. There's a piano layer here. There's the EP. And there's another layer here. It's pad. Right, so we got my pad there. Got a string. And I can play with them all together. Another thing I really like about the Korg Kronos is it has a dynamic polyphony. So the dynamic polyphony, when I say it has a dynamic polyphony, it will literally adjust the polyphony on the fly so that you cannot hear notes. If notes drop out, it will steal from one sound engine to supply another sound engine. Basically, it gives you the notes where you need them, and there's different parameters that you can set into place where you can tell it which instruments or sounds or whatever that you want to have polyphony priority. So that's a acoustic piano, that's an electric piano, that's a pad, and that's a string. And those are playing, full chords using a sustain pedal, and you're not really hearing any dropouts because of the dynamic polyphony. And so it's very rare for me when I'm playing this, even if I have a lot of sounds stacked together, it's very rare that I'm actually getting any kind of note dropouts, at least audible ones that I can hear, because the Kronos is so smart. I tried the same thing with the Modi X. Didn't have the same result. I, put some pads together and put some pianos and stuff together, and it was cutting out like crazy. Of course, lots of different workarounds and different things you can do. You can pick various single part pianos and, all kinds of stuff you can do. Again, I'm going to go over that keyboard in another video. That keyboard is a beast, but it is not as powerful as the Kronos. All right, so while I'm talking about combinations here, let me go into my set list. And the set list is what I've been using to go over all of our sounds here. So let's go to my different set list. Let's see here. So now I'm using another set list. The set list is also one of my favorite features, especially for playing live, because I can organize all of my sounds, all of my combinations and stuff, get them ready for a song, for a set, for a show, for whatever. I can all have them in here, and I can just literally click the screen when it's time to go to the next song. And this is a dynamic set list, more dynamic than, so again, I'll compare it to the Modi-X to the Montage. That has a set list function and stuff as well, or you can just click, they're called live sets, I believe. But with the Korg Kronos, you can actually color code your various boxes. So just kind of at a glance, things can be organized. So maybe you can have all your fast songs or something like that are going to be, red, or maybe all of your things that contain sequences or something like that. Like you're going to use a sequencer with it. You can, color code it. Basically, you can color code it however you want to. Whatever's going to help you and give you reminders. You can also add notes and stuff like that. So I can add notes like progressions, or like chord progressions and stuff in there. Right on the screen, my chord progression is there. Or add notes like, hey, after the bridge, go here or there, whatever. Just little reminders and stuff like that. I can put it right on the screen. That's very, very dynamic. And I always use the set list when I'm performing live. In fact, the set list is probably one of the main things that keeps me coming back to this keyboard in order to play live, because I can actually see everything on the screen and what I'm trying to do. So for instance, let's see here. Let's just click on something. There we go. So this is something that I actually use, and I already have a drum track set up, because sometimes I don't actually have a drummer when I'm playing in church. Oftentimes I'm a one-man band. Depending on where I'm playing, I could be going to a different church that's not my church and playing and singing and so on and so forth. There's no drummer and stuff there, and I literally will use the drum track. So it's already set up and ready to go. I didn't have to actually do anything. So here's another one. So it's already set up, they're ready to go, and I put the songs in there, and all I have to do is click, and I'm ready to go, ready to play. Everything is set, all the volume levels, everything that I want, drum track, everything. It's all in there. And all I have to do is click on it. It makes performing very, very easy, so I'm not actually focusing on my gear when it's time to actually perform and do something. I'm actually focused on the actual performance, engaging the crowd, things like that. Setlist makes that super easy. And then because I can see all the different sounds and things and stuff that I have set up, because I can see it and the way it's set up, and I can color code things and whatnot. If something gets changed in a set, like I'm in a band as well, sometimes the band leader, he'll call, hey, we're going to do this song instead of another song that we're going to do. And they'll do it right on stage. They'll say, okay, let's scratch that song we were going to do. Let's do another song instead. And then I can just click on, okay, great. And I'm ready to go for that song. I don't have to, hit a whole bunch of buttons and do a whole bunch of different things or whatever. I can literally have all the songs that we have. I can have, maybe, 60 songs, ready to go. And all I have to do is just, click a couple times, boom. And then you're off to the races. So the set list really makes things very, very easy. And then I have all of my my sounds and stuff set up here, and I can use my sliders and whatnot to so that one has a horn sound. But again, it's all ready. It's all ready to go. And I have the Korg Kronos set up to where whenever I mute, because I can use the buttons to mute certain sounds. And I have it set up to where when a sound is muted, it is not taking up polyphony. So I can reserve my polyphony by muting certain channels that are not going to be used. So, something like this is set up. Let's see here. But anyway, it's already set up, ready to go. All I have to do is hit a button, and off to the races. So with a little bit of pre-planning, you're ready to go. So I love the set list function. Now, another thing that I like about the Kronos is the fact that it has the USB connections in the back. I can connect a controller or anything that's USB compliant, plug it right in, it'll power it. So if I'm using my Arturia Keylab 49 keyboard to play certain sounds and stuff from the Kronos, all I have to do is plug it in, and it powers it. It's ready to go. So and anything like that, USB stuff, you can plug in your USBs, save it, memory sticks, flash drives, all that kind of stuff, external hard drives. It actually comes with a 60 gigabyte SSD hard drive to store your samples and so on and so forth. So you're pretty much not going to really run out of space. If you do run out of space, it has a slot already ready to go where you can add your own SSD, whatever size you want. You can add a terabyte and put it in there, and you will have that inside of the Korg Kronos. These are things that you don't have with other hardware workstations. It has a full-blown sequencer, 16 tracks, 16 MIDI tracks, and 16 audio tracks as well. So it's actually a 32-track sequencer, as I said in the intro. It has a full sampler, so I can bring in samples. I sometimes will bring in samples from like my complete 11 collection or complete 12, whatever it is that I have now. Basically VSTs and stuff. You can sample them, bring them in here and play them, take them with you. And then of course, so you have your sampler, you have your full-blown sequencer, and then you have your program mode, you have your combination mode or whatever, disc, whatever. So lots and lots of features. When I look at things like the Roland Phantom, it looks great. I love the hardware and so on and so forth. I'm definitely eyeing it from afar, but it doesn't have like a full-blown sequencer. It has a pattern-based sequencer. But if you want to do linear recording and you don't want it to be pattern-based, you can't really do that yet. They talking about maybe some upgrades and stuff coming later. We have to wait and see what those are. But as of today, as the date of this video, it doesn't have any kind of linear recording. You cannot record audio tracks. You can only record MIDI tracks. I also hear that it's pretty. You get minimal. You get minimal effects. It's like insert effects. I think it may be like 2 insert effects per scene or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's less insert effects than the Korg Kronos, or really the montage as well. But don't quote me on that one. I don't have a Phantom, but I'm just saying, like like the sampling in the Phantom, it doesn't have a full blown sampler, so you can't do like multi-sampling and so on and so forth like you can on the Kronos, where you can take sounds and then lay them across the keys and so on and so forth. So I'm talking about specifically the power of the Kronos versus other instruments. And of course you have the montage. The montage is more of a synthesizer, and they added a sequencer and stuff to it, but it's not really a workstation, so it doesn't have a full-blown sampler, it doesn't have a full-blown sequencer. But that instrument is very powerful. Again, I keep saying that. But when it comes to comparing it to the Korg Kronos, when you are really actually comparing what the instruments can do, 9 sound engines versus 2 or 3, a full-blown sequencer with audio in MIDI versus a pattern sequencer with just MIDI, or just a pattern sequencer without all of the full-blown editing capabilities and so on and so forth. Like the Korg Kronos really is an all-in-one solution, and having those 9 sound engines and just having so many things at your disposal, whether you are a sound designer or whether you play live, whether you are working in the studio with people, if this is going to be your only keyboard, if you want to sing and put your voice into it, use a vocoder, you are going to have a hard time finding things that the Korg Kronos can't do. And in this day and age where people are using computers for a lot of the things that they do, which I do as well. I use Ableton Live, I have VSTs, so on and so forth. But when I want to use hardware, when I want to get an idea down quickly, like I want to hurry up and record something, I click on my Korg Kronos and I get going. So I'm laying down an idea really quickly. Sometimes I don't want to fire up my computer. I would pick up the Korg Kronos and I would get everything, put in here, get my idea and stuff down or whatever. But you can plug your guitar into it, and then you can have your effects from the Korg Kronos, with your guitar and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it just does so many different things. But from a practical standpoint of view, when I'm playing with this live, that set list function really comes in handy. The drum track really comes in handy. Now, when I'm really going to do stuff, I actually have an Akai MPC1, and I load all my tracks and stuff in there, and that's how I actually use tracks, when I'm actually prepared and I'm ready to go. That's what I use to, trigger samples, trigger tracks and stuff like that, and play, through the different tracks and stuff. I don't really use the drum tracks and stuff in here anymore like I used to, but they're there if you need them. But there's so many different things that this keyboard can do. Now, it is not the easiest keyboard to use. It can be hard, can be difficult. It's a very, very steep learning curve. The manual, the actual full manual, is over 1,100 pages. Yes, I have read all 1,100 pages, and I have forgotten almost everything that I've read and have to refer back to it and try to remember, how do I do that again, and so on and so forth. But it is a powerful, powerful board. And if you are in the market for a workstation or in the market for a keyboard, you definitely want to take a look at the Korg Kronos, because it might just fit the bill. Don't let the fact that it's almost 10 years old turn you off, or the fact that other things have come out after it, because I still believe today that this is probably the most powerful workstation on the market today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for sticking with me this long if you have, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're getting any kind of value out of these videos. Peace.